Howdy folks, welcome back. I've been gone for a couple of weeks now. I had to take a little break. And people don't realize how much work goes into making one of these productions. From A to Z, from making the pictures clear to the editing and so on and so forth. Not to mention the research and trying to find the pictures. Speaking of pictures, I have two pictures here starting out for you. And in all the archives, whether it's the multimedia, the photojournal, Gigapan, any of those, you have this different versions of the same pictures all throughout. You never know exactly what you're going to find. This picture here is in the Vera Rubin Ridge area, and as you know, we've been there many times before. And in what we have here is something that is a machine, and we're going to get some better pictures on it coming up here. But you can see in between that area there where it's kind of round on one side and rectangular on the other. Right in there is a smokestack, and it is pushing steam out. And by the way, regrettably, about 8 or 9 months ago, in my very amateur days, I'm an amateur now, I was even more of an amateur then, I ran across a picture of this same location from the other side. And I'm here to tell you I was astonished to find two smokestacks, one on this side, one on the other. You can see the difference right here between these two. I was always going to get back to that picture, but I lost it, and I haven't been able to find it ever since. I hope it's still there. I don't know. But this area right here, you can see it's kind of messy looking. I mean, it's really hard to look at. I mean, they really did a good job of messing up this picture. If you spend the time to look at it, you begin to see a layout. And layout is a big part of everything that we are looking for when we're trying to find civilization. It can't be just a structure here and a structure there. There's a person by the name of Dr. Joanna Kozik who was on the podcast with Richard C. Hoagland. If you don't know who he is, you better find out. And this is a bunch of stuff that she put together that shows you, gives you an idea of what you need to look for when you're looking for civilization. Location, structural geometry, context, repetition of patterns, coloration, shadows, size, and artistry. We don't see a lot of artistry. Structural geometry, we see a lot of that. Location sometimes makes sense. For instance, you would expect there to be a city where San Francisco is. Great location. And then those two things together puts it into context for you. And then a repetition of patterns. So if you see these types of structures over and over and over in certain ways, that will also explain it. Coloration helps, but in these pictures from NASA, they really mess up the color, so that's a problem. Shadows are important. Shadows will even show you if there's something that's actually there or not. Size is also important. We don't have much luck with being able to gauge the size of these things. But these things next to each other, have to make sense. And artistry might be a building, for instance, that's a pretty building. And we have on Earth, we have big, beautiful skyscrapers, different kinds everywhere. Don't see that on Mars. Now here's a stair-step pattern that kind of looks indicative of the layered construction I've talked about before. I don't know if this is layered or not, or just going up the hillside. But there's definitely a pattern here. And this is the machine I'm talking about. Look, that is not a rocky bluff. There's obviously a smokestack, and there's obviously steam coming out and blowing to the right. This thing is a crazy structure, and the round sort of shaped item on the left has a opening on it and a flat platform with walls that go up on the side and the wall in the back. You need to take some time looking at this. By the way, I really had intended on using a screen record on this with my pointer and showing you all these things. That was my plan, but for some reason I couldn't get the audio to work, so I got to do it the old-fashioned way. Again, here's another outline of the pattern that's here, and you can see inside these lines are various things. And one of the things I really want you to pay attention to, right in front of that big machine are some what look like tall structures. Question is, are they structures or are they compression artifacts? Compression artifacts are something that we have to deal with because they start out with very, very large pictures, and they bring them down to a size that you can actually put on your on your computer without taking 3 days to download, but it creates images. So these images here, these what look like buildings, have to come into question. Now, the one building standalone by itself on the left, if you ask me, that is an image artifact because you can kind of see through it at one point. The little cluster of them, I don't know. There are things about them that make me think that it's a compression. However, the area that it's built in other words, the context of where those buildings are, shows you that they're meant to be there, that was a platform that was built for them. That's the way I see it anyway. And it takes some time. You have to spend a little bit of time looking. Please use the pause button. It's so important to do. This picture here is one of the best ones that I've done on this area, and it's a great picture. I really enjoy that, if I do say so myself. So we moved on to a different area here, and again we have the same situation. The first picture was from the photojournal, and then the second picture here is from the Gigapan website. And I haven't done anything with this picture. I'm just trying to show you the area that we're talking about. I'm looking at this quote-unquote bluff out here, and what's in front of it coming up the hill and so forth. And then the Gigapan version is something that's completely different, of course. Sometimes we get good pictures from them, sometimes we don't. This one is completely obfuscated. I mean, it's an entirely different picture altogether. It's pretty funny, actually. It's obviously very different. And in this picture, you can see what appear to be buildings going up the hillside leading up to it. They're not clear, but they are highly suggestive. Recently on this show with Richard Hoagland, this Dr. Kazika, this was her idea of how those structures look, kind of built into the hillside. She's close. They are actually on the outside. They don't need to build into the inside because, look, I think there's people breathing there. Okay, I know you're not supposed to be able to, but we've seen fire, smoke, people with no gear on, so it's there. I think they can breathe in it. That's one thing Dr. Kazika hasn't learned yet. But what is this thing? I mean, that's the big question. It is a very unusual item and pretty cool looking, if you ask me. It's got a pretty big structure, and maybe it's an early warning radar or something, or who knows what it is. Thanks for watching, guys, and hope to see you soon. Take care.